We live in a world that is addicted to the noise of the struggle. Everywhere you look, you're told to grind harder, hustle harder, wake up earlier, work longer, chase more, achieve more. Society has convinced us that if we're exhausted, we must be making progress. That if we're struggling enough, we're getting closer. That if we want something badly enough, we have to chase it until we finally force it into existence. But what if we've been taught the wrong way to pursue the life we want? What if the harder you try to control everything, the more anxious, desperate, and powerless you actually become? And what if the secret isn't learning how to chase your dream harder, but learning how to stop chasing it from a place of desperation? Think about what happens when you squeeze a handful of sand. The tighter you grip it, the faster it slips through your fingers. But open your hand, and you can actually hold it. The same thing happens with life. The more desperately you need someone's approval, the more awkward you become around them. The more desperately you need a relationship to work, the more fear begins controlling your behavior. The more desperately you need money, the more likely you are to make decisions from panic instead of wisdom. And the more desperately you need success, the harder it becomes to think clearly enough to create it. The ancient Stoics understood this long before the modern world became obsessed with manifestation. Marcus Aurelius was not sitting in a quiet room wishing for the life he wanted. He was the emperor of Rome. He had armies to command, enemies to face, responsibilities that could affect millions of lives. And yet, one of the principles he repeatedly returned to was incredibly simple. Focus on what is in front of you. Control what belongs to you. Accept what does not. And act with excellence anyway. That sounds almost too simple, but there is something incredibly powerful hidden inside it. Because Stoicism teaches you how to pursue something without becoming a slave to it. It teaches you how to want more without believing that you are incomplete without it. It teaches you how to take action without obsessing over the outcome. And that changes everything. Because maybe manifestation isn't about convincing the universe to give you what you want. Maybe the real transformation begins when you become the kind of person who can pursue what you want without losing your peace along the way. The Stoics didn't have vision boards. They didn't spend their lives waiting for a sign. They didn't believe wishing was a substitute for action. They trained their minds. They trained their character. They trained themselves to remain steady when life refused to cooperate. And that is exactly what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to show you 7 Stoic rules for manifesting the life you want without chasing it. 7 principles that can change the way you approach money, relationships, success, rejection, uncertainty, and your own future. And pay very close attention to the 7th rule, because the final principle is what makes the other 6 possible. Because there is one thing you must understand before any goal in your life can truly change. You cannot control the world, but you can control who enters the world. Want the outcome without becoming dependent on it. This is one of the most misunderstood ideas in Stoicism. The Stoics were not against ambition. They weren't against wealth. They weren't against love. They weren't against success. They simply refused to make those things the price of their peace. There is a difference between saying, "I want this," and saying, "I need this to be okay." That difference may determine the quality of your entire life. Think about someone who desperately wants a particular person to love them. Every unanswered message feels like rejection. Every delayed response creates anxiety. Every change in tone becomes something to analyze. They aren't simply enjoying the relationship anymore. They're monitoring it. They're trying to control it. They're afraid of losing it. And fear changes behavior. You start saying things you don't mean. You tolerate things you shouldn't tolerate. You become afraid to establish boundaries. You chase when you should walk away. Not because you're weak, but because you've made the outcome too important. Now imagine approaching the same situation differently. You still want the relationship. You still care. You still put effort into it. But internally you say, "I would love for this to work. But if it doesn't, I will still be okay. I will still respect myself. I will still have a life. I will still move forward." That is preferred indifference. You prefer the outcome. You simply refuse to make your identity dependent upon receiving it. And something interesting happens when you reach that state. Your decisions become clearer. You stop chasing unavailable people. You stop accepting opportunities that don't align with your values. You stop making desperate decisions. You become calmer. And calm people see things desperate people cannot see. That is why detachment is so powerful. Not because detachment magically pulls things toward you, but because it removes the fear that was causing you to sabotage your own pursuit. And once you stop desperately chasing the outcome, you face the next problem. Where do you put your attention? Because most people have escaped desperation only to become obsessed with the future. They are constantly asking, when will it happen? When will I get the money? When will I meet someone? When will my life finally change? And this brings us to the second rule. Stop living in the future. The future can motivate you, but it cannot be lived. Your life is happening now. Think about how often you've postponed your own happiness. I'll relax when I make more money. I'll enjoy myself when I become successful. I'll be confident when people respect me. I'll finally be happy when I find the right person. And suddenly years pass. You're always preparing to live, but never actually living. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself to return to the present because he understood something we often forget. The present is the only place where you have power. You can't fix yesterday. You can't control tomorrow. But you can control what you do in the next 10 minutes. And those 10 minutes matter, because your future is being constructed from moments that look completely insignificant while you're living them. The way you speak to your spouse today, the decision you make when nobody is watching, the hour you spend learning instead of scrolling, the boundary you establish, the workout you complete, the application you send, the business idea you finally act on. These ordinary moments become your extraordinary future. So instead of constantly asking, when will my life begin? Ask, what does my life require from me today? That question changes your attention from waiting to building. And that leads to the third rule. Turn obstacles into fuel, because sooner or later, no matter how disciplined you become, something will go wrong. You will be rejected. You will lose money. Someone will disappoint you. A plan will fail. A door will close. And when that happens, you have a choice. You can interpret the obstacle as proof that life is against you. Or you can ask, what can this situation make me? Marcus Aurelius wrote one of the most famous principles in Stoic philosophy. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the obstacle isn't necessarily blocking your path. It may be forcing you to develop the qualities required to walk it. Think about a fire. A weak flame can be destroyed by the wind, but a strong fire can use the wind to grow. The wind didn't change, the fire did. Your circumstances may not immediately change either, but you can. A rejection can teach you resilience. Failure can teach you precision. Loneliness can teach you self-reliance. Criticism can teach you humility. Loss can teach you what actually matters. The question isn't, why is this happening to me? The better question is, what is this demanding that I become? That one question can completely change how you experience difficulty, because you stop seeing every obstacle as evidence that you're losing. You start seeing obstacles as training. And when you become someone who knows how to turn setbacks into strength, you become very difficult to defeat. But there is still another problem. You can learn to handle obstacles and still allow other people to control your mind. That's why rule number 4 is about reclaiming your inner authority. Reclaim your inner authority. Every day, people hand their power away without realizing it. Someone says something rude, and suddenly your entire day is ruined. Someone doesn't respond, and your confidence disappears. Someone gets promoted, and you start questioning your worth. Someone criticizes your work, and you spend hours replaying their words. Think about that. You are allowing another person's behavior to determine your internal state. The Stoics considered that dangerous. Epictetus taught that while you cannot control everything that happens, you have far greater control over your judgments and responses than most people realize. Your emotions may arrive automatically. Your response doesn't have to. Anger can appear. You don't have to speak from it. Fear can appear. You don't have to obey it. Jealousy can appear. You don't have to act on it. Someone can disrespect you. You don't have to become disrespectful in return. This is what emotional sovereignty looks like. Not becoming emotionless, becoming difficult to manipulate. Because when you stop reacting automatically, you reclaim something incredibly valuable, your attention. And your attention is one of the most powerful resources you possess. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. So stop giving your mind away to people who aren't even thinking about you. Stop allowing one comment to dominate your entire day. Stop replaying conversations you cannot change. Stop trying to control opinions that don't belong to you. Ask yourself, what is actually mine to control here? Your response, your behavior, your next decision, your character. That's it. And that is enough. But now we come to a rule that may be uncomfortable for ambitious people. Because sometimes your biggest problem isn't that you're doing too little. It's that you're doing too much. Rule number 5. Stop confusing movement with progress. We live in a culture that worships busyness. If you're exhausted, you must be productive. If your calendar is full, you must be successful. If you're constantly moving, you must be getting somewhere. But a rocking chair moves all day and goes nowhere. You can spend 12 hours working and still move your life backward. You can send 20 messages and still be chasing someone who has already shown you they don't want you. You can consume hundreds of motivational videos and never change a single behavior. Motion isn't progress. Direction matters. The Stoics understood the importance of deliberate action. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is pause, think, observe, then move. Not every problem requires an immediate response. Not every opportunity deserves your attention. Not every argument deserves your participation. Not every person deserves access to you. Sometimes you don't need to push harder. You need to become still enough to recognize that you're pushing the wrong door. And here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Am I taking this action because it is wise or because I am afraid? That question is incredibly revealing because desperation often disguises itself as productivity. You're checking the numbers again because you're anxious. You're sending another message because you're anxious. You're changing the plan again because you're anxious. You're working another 3 hours because you're afraid that if you stop, everything will fall apart. But sometimes stopping is exactly how you regain clarity. The seed doesn't grow because someone keeps digging it up to check whether it is working. You plant it, you water it, you protect it, and you allow the process to unfold. Your job is not to force every outcome. Your job is to do your part exceptionally well, then release the part that isn't yours. And this leads directly to rule number 6. Stop measuring your life by what you don't have, because nothing creates desperation faster than constantly focusing on what is missing. You open social media. Someone has more money. Someone is younger. Someone has a better relationship. Someone has a bigger house. Someone has more subscribers. Someone seems happier. And suddenly your own life looks inadequate. But comparison is a trick. You are comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. The Stoics practiced gratitude not because they believed ambition was wrong, but because they understood that desire without appreciation becomes endless. If you cannot appreciate anything you currently possess, getting more will not necessarily fix the problem. You'll simply move the finish line, make another million, then another, reach another milestone, then another, get more recognition, then need even more. There is always another mountain if you don't learn how to appreciate where you are standing. So practice gratitude, not as some magical technique for attracting things, as a way of training your attention. Look at what is already working: your health, your relationships, your skills, your experience, your ability to begin again, the fact that you're still here after everything you've already survived. Gratitude doesn't eliminate ambition. It removes desperation from ambition, and that is a huge difference. You can want more while appreciating what you have. You can build wealth without believing you're worthless without it. You can pursue love without believing you're incomplete alone. You can pursue success without believing failure makes you a failure. You can dream about the future without hating the present. That is strength. And now we reach the 7th and final rule. This is where everything comes together. Act as if the outcome matters, but live as if your peace does not depend on it. This is the balance most people never find. If you become completely obsessed with outcomes, you become anxious. If you stop caring about outcomes entirely, you become passive. Stoicism teaches neither. It teaches disciplined action combined with acceptance. You do your work, you make the call, you build the business, you improve yourself, you pursue the relationship. You take the opportunity, you prepare, you give your best. But you don't demand that reality obey you, because reality doesn't owe you a particular outcome. You can do everything right and still experience failure. You can be kind and still get hurt. You can work hard and still lose. You can love someone and still lose them. You can build something and watch it collapse. That's life. And your power begins when you stop requiring certainty before you act. You don't need to know that the door will open. You need to be willing to knock. You don't need to know whether your business will succeed. You need to build it intelligently. You don't need to know whether someone will choose you. You need to become someone you respect, regardless of their decision. You don't need to know exactly what tomorrow will bring. You need to know how you intend to meet it. That is the Stoic version of manifestation. Not, I will get everything I want, but I will become the person capable of pursuing what matters without losing myself. That is a much more powerful promise. Because when you change yourself, your choices change. When your choices change, your behavior changes. When your behavior changes, your results begin to change. And suddenly, what people might call manifestation begins to look a lot less mysterious. You are not sitting around waiting for life to magically transform. You are becoming different. You think differently. You respond differently. You choose differently. You notice different opportunities. You walk away from different people. You tolerate different things. You pursue different goals. And eventually, your life begins reflecting those changes. So maybe the real secret isn't that you need to manifest harder. Maybe you need to chase less and become more. Become more disciplined, more present, more courageous, more emotionally stable, more intentional, more comfortable with uncertainty, more willing to accept what you cannot control. Because the goal isn't to become so powerful that nothing bad ever happens to you. The goal is to become so grounded that whatever happens, you know who you are. And that's why I want you to do something very simple after this video. Don't try to implement all 7 rules tomorrow. Choose one. If you're constantly desperate for an outcome, practice detachment. If you're always worrying about tomorrow, practice presence. If you're facing a setback, ask what it can teach you. If other people control your mood, reclaim your attention. If you're constantly busy, slow down and ask whether you're actually moving forward. If you're obsessed with what you lack, practice gratitude. And if you're waiting for certainty before acting, take the next step anyway, just one, for the next 24 hours, and pay attention to what changes. Because the biggest transformation may not be that you suddenly get everything you've been asking for. It may be that you stop needing everything to go your way before you allow yourself to be at peace. And that is when something strange happens. You become calmer, you make better decisions. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop forcing opportunities that aren't right. You stop reacting to every inconvenience. You stop allowing your circumstances to dictate your identity. You become harder to manipulate, harder to break, and far more capable of building the life you actually want. The Stoics understood that you cannot command fate, but you can command yourself. You cannot guarantee the outcome, but you can guarantee the quality of your effort. You cannot control who stays, but you can control who you become when someone leaves. You cannot control what tomorrow brings, but you can decide who walks into tomorrow. So want the life you dream about. Work for it, prepare for it, visualize it if that helps you. But don't worship it, don't chase it desperately, don't sacrifice your peace for it. And don't forget that the person you become while pursuing the goal is often more important than the goal itself. Because one day you may get the money, you may get the relationship, you may get the success. You may finally reach the destination you've been imagining for years. And when you do, the only question that will matter is this: did you become someone strong enough, wise enough, and peaceful enough to enjoy it? That is the real manifestation. Not forcing life to give you everything you want, but building a mind and character strong enough to meet life exactly as it comes. So stop chasing, start becoming, control what is yours. Release what isn't, move with discipline, wait without anxiety, act without demanding certainty, and trust yourself enough to know that whatever happens next, you will know what to do. That is the Stoic way.